wasn't a sentiment of all of them, they just kind of went along because they wanted a rosier picture rather than sitting down with just what we ask and tell us what the problem is. Sometimes, and that's just human nature. When you're a supervisor and you're with your bosses, you want to make sure it looks like it's handled. And I'm not saying they're dropping the ball or anyone's dropping the ball. I just want to make sure that we don't have a classroom teacher there who looks there and they say, oh, we've got plenty of supplies, and they're saying, well, I've been waiting for sanitizers for the last, week or two.
But that's what I'm saying.
And that's what
It
happens
shouldn't
with the big
matter.
system.
I mean, what are the instructions to the teacher that's been waiting for weeks? Who does she contact?
That's what I'm saying, if she had a way to contact someone, because obviously she's supposed to be contacting someone in her building, and if that person still doesn't have it, they need a way of saying, I need it.
Most of the time, if it's cleaning materials, the head custodian will get it for them if they ask. And they've been directed to give it to them.
And I know the custodians are checking the wall hand sanitizers, every week, especially when students are in our building, and restocking them because they have that each school has big supplies.
But the worst we can look is if someone says, I haven't had goes,
Right.
says, I haven't had, maybe we don't get anyone that ever sends an email and says, I need this. But then that way they can't say, well, I've been waiting on it for, well, you didn't request it.
But they have an avenue.
You have another avenue to do that. I'm not saying that happens, but we look awful bad when they're saying, well, you got all the PPE in the world, and you've got a teacher saying, well, that's funny. I've been asking for the last 2 months and haven't been able to get it. You don't want that. Whatever they need.
Why don't we just direct them to email Dora?
That's fine if
Well,
they want to do
I
it.
mean,
good with
I just
that.
really think that she's the one that needs to know if people are dropping the
Yeah,
ball.
whoever.
And, therefore we know.
And I'm not saying anyone's
correctly.
dropping the ball. I just don't
Oh,
want.
I
I don't
know you
wanna
aren't,
teach-
I
I don't
know
wanna
you are,
teach
but
them.
I don't see adding for something that's common sense and basically required right now. If this is going on, a teacher needs to contact Dora.
Well,
And,
if they're not getting it from their principal.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, they need to
I don't know,
contact
well,
in the building. I'm just saying that.
There's several hundred people contacting.
Well, it should come to the principal.
As long as they don't put a
Principal then
response right
turns
back.
it over to
I can
the,
take the
custodian.
email and print it,
And just tell them that, that changed.
but it's the
Well, then that helps,
responding.
what I'm saying is, in the end, that helps us, because when someone is complaining and saying, I've been asking forever, we'll say, well, you obviously haven't been asking because we've got this email address that you could send it to, and we've never gotten
Alright with
anything
that.
from you, well, because they, and I'm not saying that they're not, they don't have a valid concern in saying, I've never gotten it. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It may have been put somewhere they were supposed to pick up and didn't get it, but people like to stir that a lot, and then if we just cut that off and say, we've got every remedy in the world to get you what you need.
Well, and
Because
you're
we
right.
have the supplies.
And sometimes we think, and I'm surprised sometimes when I get a call, it's like, look, we that should not be a problem.
Right.
So I am surprised sometimes when I hear something. And I know Mr. Lopez went over to talk to a safety committee to talk about cleaning procedures and stuff. So he's going to start checking in with the school safety committees too, to make sure that the cleaning gets done. And that is really directly speaking with the staff. He did that at one building, and we thought, well, that's not a bad idea, that maybe that would be a good way to utilize him, to make sure that the custodians and the people in the building are doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah, my thoughts are, we have plenty of supplies. I just want to make sure.
That it's
we don't
getting
have
where it
someone
needs to go.
saying, I
Yeah.
can't get the supplies I need,
I'm
but we've got
fine with
plenty.
that.
I don't care how you, and really, I'll even withdraw what I'm saying. It's just, just make sure how that gets handled to where
Okay.
every teacher knows that, if they're not getting what they need from their building, then they need to contact someone at the central office.
And the
It could
intention
be
is to make,
The two
to
of
get
them.
everybody,
The
that's
two of
what
them.
we
Right.
want. And
Uh-huh.
because we want everyone to feel
Right,
comfortable and
so,
safe.
yeah,
That's our goal,
and that's the quickest we can get back in.
absolutely. And there should be no reason why any teacher doesn't get what they need, what they ask for.
And I'm not saying they're not.
No, I know that. I know you're not.
But out of 1,500 employees, I guarantee there's cracks somewhere where
Oh,
someone's
sure.
sitting there
No,
saying,
I-
well, what about me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, this one thing here, hydrogen peroxide disinfect wipes. Is that the same thing like the Lysol wipes?
Well, they are approved for COVID. So yes, we have hydrogen peroxide wipes.
But I
And
mean, I know a lot of schools, I know I had a bunch, for a reason, I had a bunch of them and I gave them, to my daughter and stuff. But people are, a lot of times people are saying they need some of those Lysol disinfectant wipes to wipe things off. But I see here it says nurses only.
Well, we're using them in our clinics where we see all of our sick kids and in our sick rooms, our isolation rooms, in the special ed areas where we're doing changing, or like pre-K when we're changing diapers, or, so we're exposed. Wipes are extremely difficult to get your hands on, or at least they have been.
Right,
I
right.
mean, super difficult and very pricey. So to send them out, we did a cost analysis with Sharon, to send them out and have every teacher have a tub of wipes was going to be like $30,000.
The first cost estimate they brought me was 40,000.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
For
super
one
expensive,
round.
and that would only last
Just one
like a
round.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that's where the bleach and the, the disposable towels came in. So those are earmarked for nurse clinics, because we have 24 buildings with 2 rooms each that the nurses clean multiple times a day. So those were purchased for the nurses to use.
How many boxes are in a case?
And I don't recall off the top of my head what she had there in those. And we also have since gotten some alcohol wipes that are about like 99% alcohol.
Well, I was just wondering if there was a way just to have at a school, one case. And then
I don't know, that's a Christina question, because I don't know that we even,
one case, but just to have, and nobody has to know you have all of them, just say, hey, they get nervous about it, they could get a thing, and I'll say, well, you use them, and,
I will say our last 3 orders of wipes got canceled because they did not have sufficient wipes to fill it.
well, I'm sure.
And so she snagged those early, like May of last year, and then another one early in the summer. So I still don't know about the availability.
Yeah. We
And
should be able to look
it's-
at what we have on and see what we used from the beginning of school up until, since we're having a semester break, and that should be able to tell us what it took. And
Right.
then we would have some available.
Well, I'm not saying, we're talking that, what, 26 schools, 25 schools, 23 schools? I can't count anymore.
24 buildings.
Okay, I was close. So you're looking out of 99, you're looking at 24 cases, and then that would still leave you,
The 75.
about,
Yeah, I think there's like a 6 in a case, because I've gotten several sent up here. I think there's only 6 things in one.
Yeah.
So it's not going to go
But if
too
we
far.
look at what we did the first semester and we used, 50 cases or whatever, then we would be able to spare,
just, I'm saying one case per.
Yeah, that's what
per
I'm saying.
school.
We can look at what we did the first semester, and obviously if we had 200 cases first semester, we're down to 99, we got a problem, but.
Because I know they're as they are, they're hard to get.
They are.
They are hard
We'll
to get.
check on it. I mean, I'll make sure that, we'll see how many you used.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she would have the inventory. I don't, a lot of times they'll get them directly from the warehouse, so I don't keep a tally in my
Right.
area.
That's okay.
I guess since we're talking about, with the shots,
Mhm.
is there another round coming this week?
There is, we are getting 280 doses. And so me and another nurse spent the morning going through the list that the state provided us. They're doing 40 and older who did the state survey, or they were submitted in a list from me, which came from every building, by the cutoff date, which was, I think I submitted on the 5th or the 6th of January. Since then, we are still continuing to add people to the list, and I think Michelle told me today, at the end of the day, we had another 175 on that list, and that's not even everybody.
And the state also included all private schools into our list.
Yes, we only gave 20 doses last week, but those came separate, so they didn't
Okay, I just
come
wanted
out
to
of our
make sure.
doses. They gave them in addition. So this week, we got 280, and then only 10 doses went to private schools. We do have a handful of Emmanuel and Heritage coming out of, that had submitted to the state early, and so they included them with our doses of that 280. Their numbers are, really low though, in the big
When
scheme.
you say a dose, is that a bottle
No,
Or is that
there's 10
in needle?
doses in a vial,
Okay, there's
so
10.
we're getting 28 vials, so that's 280 doses,
So how many people can we vaccinate with?
280.
280 people?
And last time, we had
350?
a few extra, we had a few
Yeah.
people not be able to get it because they were in quarantine, or they were ill themselves, or they'd gotten a flu shot the week before, or a shingle shot. So we were able to start pulling off of the list that I submitted, that we didn't get to, so we started pulling names off last week. So it looks like we have 280 names, I just emailed this afternoon, that said you're on the list, all your paperwork, you're ready to come. And then I emailed 19 standbys. You're on the standby list, and you're going to come at the end of the day, and it's going to be first come, first served lineup. And once all of our regular employees go through.
But still 40 and older.
It's
off
all
the-
absolutely
yeah,
40 and
Still
older.
off the original list.
Still off that list that we
Yeah.
submitted back the beginning of January.
Okay.
No, we're continuing to collect
Just-
names.
So two what and three something, so we're almost 600 people. then.
Yeah, I just
Cool.
wanted to, one second, I'll tell you how many exact doses we gave last week because they just texted me. Total count for last Thursday, 370.
Okay, so how many more, to get everybody?
How many more clinics are we gonna
Yeah,
have?
Would they say, would two or three more clinics get
Yeah,
everybody
depending
the
on how
first
many
time
they
around?
Depending on how many they
And
send
then by
us.
that time, it'll be time to start the
Start
second
over
shot.
again. If they would send us another 250, 300 doses next week, we could get through, well, and if they keep on lowering, and let's say they did 30 and older, we're still probably another 500 or 600 staff that want the vaccine, even after this.
But I think some of the other staff members that said no at the
Yes.
beginning, I think they're starting to
Change
have
their
changed their mind.
Absolutely, we have a
And jumping.
large number that are changed their mind, because now they have more information.
Right.
And they were asked to make a decision the second week of December when no one was getting vaccine. And it was a scary decision to make, and they just didn't feel like they had enough information.
Well, I know my daughter said no the first time, but then the more that came out, then
Yeah,
she changed her mind and now I don't know whether she's got back on the list, but she's getting back on the list.
so those names are being submitted to the nurses in the building. Those nurses are keeping a master list, well, one nurse is keeping a master list. And we will continue, as long as they keep on giving us vaccine, we're just gonna work our way
And
down.
it will be every Thursday is our
They
day.
did say our
Yeah.
day will be Thursday, and we will continue to do Thursday clinics.
It's still at RCB.
It will be at RCB.
I
Worked
think
well
that-
there, we had a
That was
flow.
an excellent setup and the way that it transpired in there, I mean.
Yeah, it flowed well.
It would, yeah, I mean, I know everybody's to be commended for, because like I said,
It was in and out quickly.
yeah,
So,
I was there probably 30 minutes,
What's our total now? I didn't ask you, we were over 800 staff requesting it, but I know you keep adding and adding. I mean,
I would
you
say
think like
we're between 900 and 1,000, I would say, which is, a
when
huge
you look at
portion.
1,500 and some employees were 1,000 requesting?
After the first dose. the
28
second-
days.
It's 28 days, but in that 28-day window, how long do you have past the 28 days to get that second dose?
The last literature I looked at said there's a 4-day grace window. I think
So
it's
that-
4 days.
So that, I mean, that puts a lot of onus on you all to make sure we have it
Yeah.
on those days and hit that window.
Well, and they're supposed to, from the State Department, so if they gave me 350 or 370 last
Right.
week, I'm supposed to have that reserved for 4 weeks from now, because you have to have that second dose. So we will continue to do, so it'll be 4 Thursdays later from last week, which I think was February the 4th, if I recall, and then today's, Thursday's clinic will be 4 weeks after that.
Down in the-
And there are things like, what happens if someone on their second one isn't able to come in that day? They won't get
And
that
yeah, I
second
don't
window.
know the answers to that. It might be that they have to go to the pharmacy that's giving them.
Yeah, you would hope, because you
And
wouldn't want
get
to
it
waste
then.
their first dose because they had to redo the whole thing.
Okay, so you're saying February the 4th is the second dose?
Yes, it was on the card that we gave you.
I got 4 on my calendar.
It's on the back, and then you'll get another email from me. What we've tried to do is email everyone, tell them the procedure, send them their consents. The second time around, you won't have to sign a consent because they'll have your original consent and they'll document on that. And we'll pull that out. So we will have given 650 doses after this Thursday. More, 650 plus.
What is their immunity percentage with the first one?
I don't know that I've seen any, I mean, I know there's lots of literature out there, but I'm going to say around the 50% mark, and then.
That's what Mr. Bundy said to me.
And then
50%.
at 14 days after their second dose, they're at the 94% mark for Moderna, which is what we're giving. Pfizer is 95%. So, I mean,
If they run out of Moderna, can they give you a Pfizer? I know there's a.
You can't mix.
window.
You can't mix doses. So if you start with Moderna, you have to end with Moderna.
Why not?
I don't know. They haven't done any studies that have allowed mixing of doses. I don't know if, I mean, the vaccines are made similarly, but they're not identical.
I think I did read that the Moderna was better because it also protects you against several other things where the Pfizer didn't.
I don't know.
And I guess I'd like to, because even though we had to go through the pharmacy, I mean, that's something that people need to understand. They had a pharmacy to do this.
Right.
It still took all hands on deck from your department to
The
get
nurses.
everything in there, so I really
nurses.
appreciate that, because even, you know, it looks like, oh, they've got a pharmacy. You still had as
They
much
just
work.
walked in and they started
Yeah.
shooting.
You had-
That's all they did. They
You still had
literally.
the same, you had more work than they do, so we appreciate that.
They went down and picked up the vaccines and brought them in and she
And
met
then
them there.
I've like sat them down, I'm like, start drawing them up. We've got people lined up waiting for
Uh-huh.
you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
they are doing, the pharmacy we are partnering with, that got the, I guess, contract to do us, is also doing Mon County schools. So
So he
we're,
did tell her she'd set the bar very
Yeah,
high for Mon County, so I'm curious what he tells you.
I will find out this Thursday. They'll do them on Fridays and we'll always have Thursdays, which is why that Thursday day is a committed day for us.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? For me? I'm-
All right.
Um, That's really all I
Did
had.
you have,
Um,
over that, or?
Well, if you want to, we had presented at the last board meeting, just in superintendent's updates about our COVID procedures for leave. And I wasn't sure, I mean, this is what we distributed. I wasn't sure if you wanted to revisit that or not. I
Yeah,
can,
can you go over that, because I don't have a copy of that in front of me.
sure.
And before you go over it all, I mean, I think, you know, until we get, you know, until you don't have it in your hand, you know, extra money supposedly coming from the government to help cover some of that, until you have it in your hand, you don't have it, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I think that we're going to have to be very careful when people just saying, well, because of the COVID, I'm not going to work, but I expect to get paid because of the COVID, you know, because somebody's going to have to teach in their classroom if we get them back in class. And so we also going to have to be able to cover the substitutes pay for those, you know, for those people there. So we don't want to run out of the money there for substitutes. And then because we're using that substitute money to pay COVID situation. I think we use the money that the government gives us if there's a validated COVID case and, you know, because like I say, yeah, everybody's scared, you know, if they're not, they should be of this.
Yeah, that's not what when I brought that up last week, though, that's not what I meant.
Okay,
What
I was
meant is
confused with
people
what you
who
I
get
said.
think what, yeah, we mirrored what this,
Who are automatically sent on quarantine from exposure,
whether it was
that's what I was
work
talking
related, yeah.
about. Not that they just don't feel like, you know, they're nervous and they don't feel like being in the classroom. That's not what I meant. I meant, people who are in the classroom and they're exposed and then have to go on that mandated quarantine.
Oh, okay.
We are extending that.
Yeah, we did exactly what they had prior to that, but I think Frankie's concern was over, whether it was work related or community related. That was the
Work related or
concern.
community related.
Yeah.
I think that if you're exposed to it and you have to go into a mandatory quarantine, then we should be able to do something for at least an extra 30 days versus not being able to do it. Now, I get what the thought process is in regards to making sure that people are being diligent and doing the right thing and not getting it outside of the classroom. But I think a transition would be better to go into that, at least until we can get more vaccines in arms.
Well, I think I think more what Doug is talking about is the ones that were going to get tested and then they get a negative and then they're symptomatic, or say they are, and then they get another negative. We've addressed that in there, that if they continue to do that, then you get a negative, and it's a negative, then they're going to use their own sick days for that. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
so that's how we address that. We did extend the quarantine days. Right now, we get a quarantine note from the health department, and we put an employee off, then they don't have to use their days if they're off. The question is do we want to look at it whether it's work-related or community-related? And we do know that from contact tracing, but it's just a matter,
Right.
do you want to,
I think it has to be-
open that
I
up?
would think it would have to be work-related in order to be able to use, rather than, if you get out in the community, you're out at a restaurant, or you're out at,
Since
That would
following
be a
at a
thing.
restaurant that you're having
Yeah,
Thanksgiving dinner at.
that's where I would like to extend it for about 30 days additional from what we're doing right now. Because what we're doing right now is ending on the 19th.
if they pick it up outside of school,
Only for a specific amount of time.
For the next 30 days.
Outside of school. Yes, so for the next 30 days is what my suggestion
Like
is.
in mid-February, the end of January? I mean, we're already
Yeah,
halfway.
just long enough to get more vaccines in arms.
So you're saying if someone gets sick at their Thanksgiving dinner, we should pay their leave? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
What I'm saying is, if somebody gets COVID and they're required to go on a 14-day mandatory COVID quarantine, or a 10-day, whatever it is, whatever the quarantine that they're supposed to go on, that for at least the next 30 days, until we can get more vaccines in the arms, that I think we should cover that timeframe.
I don't.
I think the difference is, Frankie, when we were doing it with COVID care days from the CARES Act.
It was
just-
reimbursed by the government.
Yeah,
Right, I
it
get it.
it was
The federal
just,
government was
but
reimbursing.
that was the difference. I mean, that's why employees could do that, and
Yeah.
They were saying-
Sharon said
It
we don't have
doesn't-
the money
And
right now.
here's
We
my,
might get it.
here's my
It's your
thought, I'm
decision.
100% if it's work-related covering.
If
it.
it's work-related.
Absolutely.
100%. And two, I think that there needs to be, because I've dealt with it in my work life of, hey, I'm off because I had an exposure. And then you ask, well, where's your test result? Why didn't you go get tested?
Yeah.
You shouldn't receive anything if you didn't go get tested. I mean, you need to go get tested. But three, on the other, I'm split on it, because I understand what Frank's saying is, over the next 30 days, we still have this community spread, so I do understand that. But then the other portion of it says, what if someone went out and had a school dance and a bunch of teachers went to and sponsored an illegal school dance, and then they all get sick and we've got to cover it? That's
Well,
my.
and maybe we take it on a case-by-case basis. If
Well,
the
that's what I'm
contact
saying,
tracing can take us back to that.
Yeah, if you
tell
want
us
to do 30
that's
days
what happened.
and not cover it, but have an appeal to that, to where they can say, look, you're saying I didn't get it from school, but yeah, I did, and they can show some compelling evidence as to why, then I wouldn't have an issue. And that could be mitigated
Well,
by
the
the
health department
superintendent.
does the tracing. Like she just
Yeah.
said, it's very, they
Well,
have
it's
to
with
take.
our.
But I think what
health
Frank's
nurses
saying
now.
too is there may be something, okay, contact tracing doesn't say it came specifically from the school, but there's some other mitigating circumstances that in a roundabout way it did. I don't know that those are, so you'd have to have some
Well, we
flexibility,
definitely err on the side
yeah, of the employee, as long as we do that. then-
hypothetically, Mrs. Stubble's teaching 5th grade at Hamrick Middle School.
It's a good school.
Or whatever, okay, or elementary school. And her classroom becomes, several get it in her classroom. She's in that room, she has been exposed, so that's, to me, that is work-related.
Absolutely.
And that should be covered, But if there's no outbreak and she comes down with it and finds out that, she may have picked it up at a restaurant
The mall.
at a mall or whatever, then I don't see that being covered.
I understand, and then the person, she comes back and she exposes it to 10 of her coworkers, they're covered, because the only reason they got it was they were in the
That's
school.
right.
That's true.
They were on the teacher's lounge or in a meeting or whatever.
When she brought it, it's just that,
Yeah.
that where she brought it from. I understand both sides of it, and I understand Frank saying, over 30 days to get it under control, but at the same time, I don't know what it would, because we're extending a benefit that no one else is.
Well, what case-to-case basis, though, could cover the next.
Well, there
30
are
days.
some municipalities that are extending that benefit. I know that Bridgeport City Council extended their benefits.
Yeah, they also have,
for-
less than 50 employees probably.
Sure,
We've got
sure.
1,600.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that we would have to put on the agenda to vote, certainly.
Yeah, I'm with it the way it is, and then case by case basis to be determined by, the superintendent or whatever, because there always going to be something to where you say, well, yeah, but it's like, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying now. And I trust the superintendent to wade through those. But sitting here, we are extending the COVID for.
Oh, yeah, it's really in the
school.
same form,
And-
other than work-related.
And that's what we should do, and,
That was the only thing.
not every county's doing that because the state's not doing it, so we're one of the few. So I'm happy with that. The other, as long as there's some sort of appeal process to the superintendent, to say, look, contract tracing said this, but here's the other circumstances, then I'm okay.
And like she said, she errs on the side of the
Yeah.
employee.
I know you do.
Yeah, I mean, because, you don't want,
Did all of you receive the email about having a reaction to the vaccine and having that paid?
Obviously, if you get the vaccine, you have some sort of reaction, we would need a doctor, to verify that.
We've had some that said they were sick on Friday and they took a sick day. Others worked, we've got multiple of them. They do have different reactions. It's like the flu shot. Some people react to it differently than others and they take sick days
I
if
mean,
they've reacted to the vaccine.
I got the shot and only thing I had was a sore arm. And
Yeah,
if there's any.
that's why we kind of wanted it on a Friday, but we didn't have that choice. But
If it was,
I understand that, but that's no different
with the
than.
immune system I got,
Then
A
both
flu
got a
shot.
flu shot.
I'm glad to just take a sore arm.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
It's up to
especially
you
right
all.
now where we are not receiving the federal funds, things like that. And like what Frank is saying, I mean, we don't have the money right now. And that's what Sharon said until something else happens, so.
well, we were notified, we are getting a second round of funding. We have to apply for it
Okay,
right now, so we don't know how that's.
When you're gonna
But
get
we
it?
are getting it.
because with all the changes going on right now, the calm there in Washington DC, that's going on, you have no idea when this money may come.
But sitting here, I'm happy that we are covering, because that's the major issue, is covering them on the in-school spread, because that covers them. The rest of it, if we have, I say, we let that ride as of now, and if we have an issue, then we'll address it at that point,
And I do have to say that one of the major things that the employees I've talked to said is the childcare, the last issue you have on here. Frank, it's about childcare, as per West Virginia State Department. If County Board of Education employees have childcare issues due to COVID-19 after the expiration of the federal leave, the leave options available to them are limited to the 4 without cause personal days or any annual vacation leave available to them. If the employee does not have any such leave available, the employee would need to take leave without pay. And in regard to that, most of the people that I spoke to all understand, all agree, and we're very thankful that they don't lose their jobs in that case.
And the difference in the regular COVID, the work-related and the personal and all that, is that the State Department doesn't say shall, In the childcare, they say shall not, which precludes us from doing it. Whereas the other, we can extend that as a courtesy to our employees. The childcare, though, they're pretty specific as to shall not. So.
Well, a lot of the teachers that I talked to were saying, hey, if it comes down to it, I'm just gonna have to take leave without pay. And they really wanted to make sure that their jobs were secure. because with, students that, like say they have like 4 kids and they go back at different times, different schools. And the main thing is that they were very appreciative. They have all these options, they know that. And, but if worse came to worse, that they could take leave without pay and still hold their job, which
Yeah.
they were very.
And that's my feeling on the personal contact over work-related is there's some give and take. I mean, we're doing this for everyone, and I'm happy about that, but occasionally if there's one portion of 10 things that you don't like, unfortunately, we have to be a guardian of taxpayer dollars at the same time.
We actually today with the principals addressed this and reassured them that if they needed to take leave without pay for childcare, that it would not be held against them.
Okay, good.
So we told them that again today.
The other issue I would like to discuss is, I know we brought it up at our last meeting with the grades at families, or some of the students struggling with their grades. I would like, it's all because of this COVID stuff we're out of schools. I would like for us to come up with some type of remediation or something that families can go to in the summer school, where we have busing, where we have, I don't know what grants we can get. They have food available, something where these kids who are struggling, because we have so many who are struggling with this. If there's something we can provide, almost like an intense summer school to help these kids, because they've missed out on so much.
We have a middle school academy. It could be something.
Middle school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could maybe look at something for elementary and, yeah. I mean,
Is
we
there
have a
any
model
recovery
already
in
of
the
something
summer?
similar.
Right.
It's not
To that.
necessary for the elementary, but we could do interventions, that's a
I mean, we can look at a model for that.
High school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
See,
High
Energy
school did
Express
that.
even last summer, all that got canceled last summer. They
Right.
didn't even have that available in the, so I don't know what this summer's gonna look like as far as those programs.
Right. well,
So
we-
it'll
we
be
just
up to
gotta make a
us to do
plan.
that.
So if it's not available, I just don't want to be I don't want to be in this situation next year, and I don't want the kids to be behind. And I fear where the kids, we know they're not as far ahead as they normally would be. So when they start next year, if they've passed, they're still going to be behind, and there's going to be a lot of catch up. So if they have other options available, and if it's not canceled, like, what steps can we do to make sure it's not
Well,
canceled?
we would
Or-
come up with our
Yeah, the
own
middle school
model.
academy can hold 50 to 60 students, and so the principals recommend them.
Yeah, I think that's in place. I think there's something in place for them. I think
Yeah.
you're looking at maybe elementary and.
Yeah, I'm thinking
High
of every.
Yeah, every grade on it.
Yeah.
Your high school has credit recovery, you pay the 4 positions, one for.
Well, could we
Does that offer-
try to attach that on to Energy Express and
Work with
expand that,
them.
work with
Is
them?
there busing for that, or?
Yeah, Energy Express already has that set up with meals and everything, and they have, and I'm assuming they're gonna head in that direction.
They did
That's-
last year.
And we could,
Until that, yeah.
we could expand the Energy Express a lot larger and take a lot more, but they've already got the framework of it. And everyone I've ever talked to, kids that go through Energy Express love it.
Well, can we talk to them, get an update or an idea or a plan?
Yeah, talk to Mike Book and
And
Yeah.
just see what's in store so that we can start pumping it up to the parents. Because
Well, I also think when he's saying 50, obviously we have more than 50 kids that are gonna need help. I mean, take that model, I know WISIS works, but I think it's maybe something we have to look at in every middle school, elementary, the same model, just not one and one.
and this might have to be the next couple of years.
Yeah, because we have a mess.
Yeah.
And that is the opportunity, and the kids that are hurting the most, quite honestly, are the kids that love these programs and will go to these programs. And so, I just think it's something we have to look at countywide. I agree with them on that, but not just 50 students.
No,
obviously.
No, Energy Express will handle a lot more. Their biggest issue is getting enough employees.
They could have a, yeah.
Well, but if we can go alongside of this.
That's what I'm saying. So we
And our
could,
teachers can help out.
they had more money to spend than they had employees.
Mhm.
They couldn't find enough people. So,
Well, we offer it as an extracurricular,
yeah, right.
a contract for our
Yeah.
teachers, the WI, and I would assume we would just do the same thing. I understand what you're saying about Energy Express, I think we should work with them, but when it comes to the actual
Mhm.
The actual, what he's talking about, like the academy, I think we have to take this a little more serious and have our instructors and
We're not talking
do the same model that we have for the academy
Yeah.
and work it in with it.
How long is that? I mean, is that,
Energy
about
Express?
almost.
Yeah.
It's most of the summer.
It is, it's usually,
It's
what,
over
6
2
weeks,
months.
6,
Okay.
yeah, 6
And they've already
weeks.
got the feeding sites, they're already feeding. They've already got sites.
And they do
feeding
work
sites.
with us on
Yeah.
the food program piece of it, and a lot of our teachers actually work Energy Express. That's what their
So
summer
we just try to
employment is.
expand it. What I'm saying is don't reinvent the wheel.
no?
Get
Yeah,
what, get what
No, I
Energy
just wanna
Express
expand this
and
wheel.
expand.
Yeah.
Expand the, yeah.
And Mike looks great to work with on that, so, you know.
And it could be that we could expand the sites.
That's right.
Yeah, he'd be excited about that if we can get folks to do it, yeah. With him. Yeah, that's it.
Anything else on this?
There's also some summer things through Project Isaac, and we need to check in with Millie Michael to see what they're offering.
High school and middle school.
And it's tutoring and
Yeah,
based
if
around
we could
it.
get a list of
But
all
all
the stuff,
that got
the
canceled last
plans and
summer.
things that they're offering
Everything.
through the summer and really start, and just educating the parents so they can start.
But this is
getting
what's
organizing Or
available.
whatever they gotta do.
I think that'll be a good job.
What's that?
For the person
as well.
Okay.
that, Mrs. Cutler recommends for to be the, position you're.
All the communications division.
You know what, I don't, and I was gonna ask, I would like to withdraw my vote. Is that, am I allowed to withdraw my,
For what?
to approve that position that we voted on, since it's
No, that
is
was-
this considered the next meeting?
No.
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 Oh, this next meeting.
Not that
yeah.
it'll change
You mean
because
since
nobody
you
else
voted in
is.
the,
But I would like to explain why I would like to withdraw my,
well, we can't vote on anything tonight because there's nothing actionable on there.
I
You're
know
talking
that
about the
I can
position.
still
Yeah.
withdraw mine, correct?
Yes.
Position?
Yeah.
And let me tell you why, because I really looked at that job, and I should have looked at it a little bit more before I voted on it. I think that it is I think the description has brought in too much technology compared to communication. I think it became a catch-all, and I don't think that's what the position should be. Just like what he just said, that, maybe they should be doing it. I don't think that's what that position is, something to just keep throwing. It's an actual position, and I think it needs to be more defined. I mean, it's from everything from talking to the press to doing all the websites, and, I just think, like, I know we can't discuss it now because we only had COVID on here, but I think our whole IT department needs to be maybe looked at and sit down with Todd and see, just like the last meeting where he said he's doing training and setting up serial numbers for servers. I mean, I think there needs to be a revamp maybe. And I don't think the position that we posted should be like that revamp, I mean, it seemed like it was a catch-all. I mean, I don't know if anyone really read it, but, I mean, it was this long.
Yeah, I
There
read
is
it,
a lot
I
in
mean,
there.
I think any job, I read it, but I don't think that everything will be held fast and true to exactly what was on that, on that description and everything. I
There's
mean,
the other duties as assigned, that's the.
Right.
yeah, and in
Yeah.
other words,
It's whatever Dora needs.
she may want them at the meeting here to.
Well, that's the whole thing,
to
there's
throw
too
out
many
to the
duties.
community. I think
To
she
have
wants-
those duties should be if assigned and not in the
I understand, but
description.
I think Ms. Stetler knows what she needs as far as someone to be a communications.
She go, and
person.
communicate to the families, to the kids, to the parents,
Almost somebody-
Yeah, all
You know.
the speaking to the press will come from, I mean, like the
Right.
direct speaking with the press would come from me.
Well, it says
Yeah.
to do all of the school websites and keep them all updated and all the social media. I mean,
Well, that was to replace his online communications to people. That's what they were doing in the schools, was the school websites. There's nobody really looking at those.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
understand
so
that,
that's
and
why-
that's what I was thinking with you, and then what you need to, the communications and being out in front of the people. And then there's about 30 more things.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like the banquets and that, it would go underneath that, because it's already in your office. I mean, I'm just saying, there were a lot of things on there that I don't think the communication person should be responsible for
I
it
agree
because
with
of a
that, yeah,
description.
yeah.
Well, it can be refined to, you want them on there in case, I mean, if you need to have them do that, and then you can look at your technology department to see what they can still do. Is that what you're asking? Like, what can they do?
I mean, it's a right-hand person
Yeah.
for you, is what this
Right.
is supposed to be.
But even
This
the
is
job-
supposed
yeah.
to be another IT position. That's all I'm saying. It's a
Right.
right-hand person to you, and to help you out and get out
This is a person,
communications.
her saying, I need a press release out.
Exactly.
minutes,
It's
and-
not an IT person, and I read that description, and it was an IT job. And that's why I wanted to withdraw my vote, because that is not what I felt it should be, and it shouldn't be an IT job. It should be your person. And that was the problem before, the old one was reported, I don't even know who to, but this is your person. And it's an IT position again.
I think
And I don't like that.
I think the concern is still trying to keep up with the school stuff that they needed
The
too.
things that kids go on.
Yeah, that's going on in the schools and their school apps. So that's why that was included in there as well, to try to,
Because they'll get the information out, not just on one
Yeah.
press release, it's on all the media.
yeah.
But is she responsible for doing that or overseeing that? I mean, how many IT people do we have doing that right now, plus the schools, and then it's sort of like it makes it all a one position for her, or him, whoever it may be, where, do you understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, I didn't think we hired that person to take care of all of the websites and all of the apps and everything.
I think the
That
reason
all
it's
was-
on
I
like
think
that
that
is
should be in
because,
our IT
the
department.
reason that was on like that is because we did away with a bunch of
But, yeah,
positions
those
to be able to pay
online
for this.
building, yeah, the online
We
building.
did
and
away
that-
with those positions and used that money to fund this position, so that, I mean, they have to go, those duties have to go somewhere.
I mean, we can
Yeah.
definitely look
Well,
at
that was the
different-
only reason, listen,
Yeah.
that I wanted to withdraw is because I thought maybe we should look at it a little
Right,
bit more in the
but I think,
And
I think everyone
withdrawing
here,
does not matter.
but I think everyone here
I think we can
understands that
refine it.
what we want out of it,
Right.
and everyone understands that this is the person who works directly for Dora to
Now,
get
it
her
is this
message.
Wednesday, correct? The-
Yes, Wednesday night at
Okay,
midnight.
then you'll have to set up the interviews and everything, and like I said, you know, the people that are going to apply for the job are going to apply for it based on what you, whether it's
Whether they do.
one
it.
person, 3 people, 6 people, 10 people, they know that that all could be part of their job. Doesn't mean that it's going to be, because you'll pick and choose, and I need you to do this, or I need you to do that. And so I think, you know, once you've interviewed, you'll have a better understanding, and the person that gets the position, I think, will have a little better understanding once they talk and interview with you.
Going back
It
to,
could be defined more.
Yeah.
Job description's usually broad, and you can always define down.
going back to COVID-related stuff, over the week, I posted a video talking about just trying to make plans on how we don't get stuck in the same situation next year. 'Cause, I know at the last meeting, all the people stood up or talked over the line, talking about a new wave coming and the second one. And I just don't want to be in this position where the kids are missing out. So I mentioned at the last meeting about the possibility of year-round schooling, and I know Gary said it has to be something by the legislature. So when I put my video out, I got overwhelming support from parents and teachers that were in favor of it. Some were not, some would have other plans, but the majority of the stuff that I got was parents and teachers contacted me, and service personnel, all were in favor of. They just trying to think outside the box. The sentiment that I got was anything to help these kids, not just to survive, but to thrive. They were willing to take that step. And then I had a lot of people contact me with other relatives or friends that are in the states that do the year-round schooling. And those people actually enjoy it much better. The only, not that it's better or worse, I'm just trying to think, because everything's following the seasonal flu, it's following the same seasonal path. And the height of it is during these winter months, just to look at that. I understand something has to, it's out of our hands, But, is it something that it would have to be a statewide thing, or can it be a county thing? Do you know?
I can check. I know for years, even years past, the legislatures looked at that to do a year-round school, and some of the states have moved to it. There's different
Like all the
school
January
districts,
off.
yes.
Yeah, it's like so many days on, then you get so many
It's
weeks
usually
off,
like
so
a
many days
2-week
on.
break, and then you're off, and then
Yeah.
there's 2 weeks, and then it's a pattern like that. But it is state code right now,
Yes,
but
I understand.
Yeah,
It's
so
out
I-
of
let
our
me
hands.
check
We
on
can just find out.
I can check to see
Well,
what.
Mr. Daugherty, since, I mean, you already, our next item was board member comments. If you want to add anything to that for your board member comments or.
No,
Okay.
because it was COVID
Okay,
related.
no, that's fine.
I'm just trying to come up with.
That's what I say, I'm just saying we're moving to board member comments so we can adjourn the meeting, but if you have anything else to.
No, I just want to make plans.
Okay.
So we don't get stuck in anything for next year. So that's why the summer school, and I'm just wanting to know more details on that.
Ms. Messenger? Board member comments, you good? Mr. Devon?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the COVID-19 task force idea. Has that come to fruition any? Has there been any discussion about that anymore?
There has, we actually spoke about that at the, I had my supervisors meetings on Monday on who would be included in that. It depends on, I mean, I think what the question was is what do we want this task force, what do we want their purpose to be? Is it to reevaluate what we've done and move forward, or, because a lot of the task force, like Taylor County has a COVID task force, and it really was their reentry committee. Like the same group of people that's been working with her is the committee that she had when they developed a reentry plan back in August. And we do have that already there, we just haven't utilized them at this, I mean, since the decisions have been made, we've got things in place. It just depends on, I mean, what do you see the purpose of the task force? I'm all for.
So I thought the purpose of the task force could be to go and evaluate safe working conditions from a
Oh,
PPE standpoint.
oh, okay, that's not the thought, that was not what we were thinking, but that's not,
I thought that could be the main purpose of the task force. Just threw in the option of possibly coming up with a return to 5-day-a-week plan last week when we threw it in there. But I think for the main purpose, it should be just an evaluation of where we are safety-wise. Should we need to, in order to get us to 5 days a week, do we have plexiglass dividers? Do we need we putting that back together? That was kind of the thought process of what, I had behind the COVID-19 task force.
What's your makeup of the task force?
So I would like to see at least a couple of teachers, at least a couple of principals, at least a couple, service personnel, and a couple of community members. I don't want a 30-person task force like we have with the CESP, but at the end of the day, I think we should have, some representatives from each individual, even a student or two, from each individual, section.
So you'd have more than, in other words, I mean, you're going to have a certain number from Bridgeport, certain number from the Parksburg area, certain number from the Lost Creek area, certain from.
I'd say maybe a 10-person committee at max, and take them from all over the community, all over the county.
How about we do, like we did with the CEFP, where we come up with, teachers, maybe a teacher, principal, service, and then each board member have one from a different feeder area, pick a feeder area and pick someone from there. Or just,
I just need more clear definitions of what all you're wanting, like almost like a job description, because I don't know what I would be approaching people with other than looking for proper PPE, but I think
That's the
our principal
principals.
goals are going to be doing that. So before.
No,
we-
evaluate, they need to evaluate the measures that we take from a safety standpoint and what it takes for us to get back into school 5 days a week for their groups, for their confidence. In order, do we need to buy plexiglass dividers? Do we need to take, thermometers and take a reading of each kid 3 or 4 times a day? Do we need to have, I don't know, pods outside of the schools. I mean, you know what I mean?
Wouldn't that be a nursing thing, wouldn't you go to safety specialists like nurses or doctors?
Well, you could bring a nurse into it as well, bring a nurse into it also.
Right, but wouldn't,
I mean, it's got to be a safety standpoint where we feel comfortable, where the teachers feel comfortable, the student feels comfortable, and the community feels comfortable to get us back to 5 days a week.
You're never gonna have all of those entities agree,
I,
and I think that's what all we have been doing for a year now, is making sure they get back safely and comfortably. That's why we're waiting for the vaccine to be put out. We have masks, we have temperatures, we have PPE things. I mean,
you're talking to the health department, Jody's talking to the health department. I just don't understand I guess in more detail. Maybe I'm not,
I don't.
if you could write it out.
How about this, Mr. Devon, why don't you, for the next meeting, put whatever your proposal is, who you expect to make up
Yeah.
the committee and what you expect the committee to do, and we'll put it on there and we'll discuss it and vote on it.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Because I don't understand.
Yeah, and it may just be, you never understand when someone's talking on the
Yeah.
phone. So,
Hey, Frank, I found that out for sure.
it's tough, but if you want to put that in writing, and then I'll ask the superintendent, make sure that goes on the agenda under new business for next Tuesday's meeting.
And what if we bring you the list of people that's been part of every decision that we're making too, so you can see who's
Well,
already,
I'd like to break that up. I'd like to get new people involved.
okay, all right.
Well, if you put the proposal together in writing or whatever, get it to Ms. Stetler before Thursday,
Sure.
because you're doing the agenda. You don't have to have
Well,
it
no,
done.
we'll just have it on.
We'll put it on the
item.
agenda, but if you get the details to that, to her before next meeting, maybe by next Monday or whatever, to
Yeah.
get it on there, but she'll put it on the agenda for Thursday, or for Tuesday,
Yeah, for the release, yeah.
Sounds good.
okay? Mr. Hope?
Yeah, I have just a couple quick things. One, I appreciate, because I'm a real good visual learner, so I appreciate the pictures that, Jimmy, that you got for us, to see what is actually going on, and you can see, you can see that there's progress being made, you can drive by, you see, but these pictures here, I think gives us a idea of what's going on, and I appreciate you, bringing it, because like I said, I am
And then you do that every month or whatever?
Yeah, I mean-
I'll try to keep you, yeah.
If we get the new person, communication person,
Yeah.
maybe they can,
They
they
can
can
do
take
those
that off
pictures.
and use.
Well, they might be able to get.
Might have to get them a pair of boots.
Detail.
But yeah, I do appreciate
You
that.
know, one other thing, a couple other little things. One was, when you got ready to release this, I mean, you talked to the principals, you talked to everybody,
Teacher groups, uh-huh.
But we as a
Supervisors here.
board, I kind of felt like everybody else knew what was going to go into the plan, and then said, well, here, you get this, it was a top secret till it was released,
Uh-huh.
So,
Then it got released to the
before-
paper.
Well, I know, I had people call me saying, so this is what you're going to do? I said, well, if you know that, you know more than I do.
It got released out to the public before we wanted it to, and so I
Yeah, I'm
apologize for
sure
that.
that usually.
Yeah,
what
we was
happens.
over at Bridgeport Connect.
We got word that it went to Bridgeport Connect. You try to keep that, I mean, we meet and I'll say, please, and,
I would have cared, if
Yeah.
I would have known, I would have just said, okay, yes, this is what the plan was going to be.
yeah.
So even maybe before you release it to the schools, Bridgeport
anybody.
Connect, Martinsburg, just, so.
You didn't release it to Bridgeport Connect.
I did not, no.
Well, somebody
We did-
did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but nobody knows who did it.
I agree with what Doug's saying, though. I would have liked to have seen it before anybody else.
Else at all,
And it was one of our employees that released it premature.
yeah.
And, and looking at this, I
agree with that,
I have no
yeah.
problems with the plan. We've talked about, leave and sick leave and, taking care of it. I've always said though, as bad as this has been, I would have really liked to have gone to a 4-day rather than a 5-day, and the 5-day, 5th day, teachers in the building. On Thursday, you give the kids the assignments that they need, and they take it, work on it at home. They bring it back on Monday morning. The teacher goes over the assignment, what they was doing on Friday, and then, and the building's being cleaned, sprayed, disinfected, everything's going on, everybody's there doing their regular job, except the kids are not there, they're at home, and parents know that, they're gonna be home on Fridays, and, but this has already gone out, and this is what everybody's planned for, but if I would've known ahead of time, I would've probably, I would've, proposed 4 days, Monday through Thursday, Fridays, like I said, to take care of those things and all. But, I mean,
If they told me something on that, they said Wednesday is the ideal day when this first came out, because when they come there, they're there 2 days, and it's been cleaned over the weekend. Then Wednesday, they're gone, everything is clean, and they get back for 2 more clean days. Instead of coming back Monday and going 4 days without a cleaning, because I thought the same as you, but it was presented to me by an instructor that the ideal day to take off would have been a Wednesday. If we go to a 4-day for cleaning, then it would be sterilized 2 days, 2 days.
My feeling is once we
we've
get,
already released this is what everybody's banking on, so 5 days is 5 days. And
it's my feeling and it's my hope that once we get to that point where we're looking at the difference between 4 and 5 days, then we're on the other end, in a good direction. And 5's not gonna matter. That day, we're gonna need that extra day teaching. That 5th day is not gonna matter between 4 and 5 because we shouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with Chad Bundy if there was a difference between 4 and 5 days. There's a lot of counties that did the 4-day are still doing a remote day. Like they're doing, because that's their virtual option. They're not doing West Virginia virtual schools. So they're keeping Friday as, other than that, for health reasons.
We're in the red right now. It's my
Yeah.
feeling, if we hit the green, we're not gonna go from green back to red. I mean,
No.
Yeah.
once we hit the green, we'll work for 5 days. I don't anticipate it's going back the other way. If we do, then we've got bigger issues.
And one other thing, I know I got a lot of emails, and I'll be honest, I don't respond back to the emails because, like I said, all of them I get, I read them, and you're gonna please 50%, and you're gonna make 50% mad, or vice versa. So, no answer that you give them, if you tell them what they want to hear, they're tickled to death. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread. If you don't tell them what you want to hear, then, you don't care about us as employees, or you don't care about the children or the grandparents or what have you. So I think that, that's why it comes down that you make, as a superintendent, you make the decision, and, whether we agree or disagree, we have to hear your point of view on why you made that decision. And then we have to say, okay, we can support that once we hear that. And, and I hear a lot of parents complaining about athletics. Well, now, as we see, the governor of the state of West Virginia has now backtracked. And he said, well, okay, we're going to start February 14th practice. They can play March the 3rd. Okay, and then they're talking that they will then maybe limit the number of games. Usually basketball is 20 games plus sectional, tournament, regional, states. Okay, well, I said it a long time ago. Start in, get your practices in, be ready to go. You still don't know where you're going to be in regard to the map and what have you. But then only play 14 games, and then play your sectional region, because you're going to overlap from basketball, track, baseball, and everything. And in the end, before the time force is all over, we may not get to play any sports.
The governor is nothing if he's not inconsistent.
Are they gonna go back in session? I was just thinking about that.
And we haven't gotten
They're
anything
doing
official.
chambers, like
Have we?
Yeah.
on floor.
There's not been anything official in writing from the West Virginia SSAC. We haven't gotten any.
I know, well, there was
Yeah.
something, Bernie was on
Yeah,
top.
so we're supposed to get some guidelines.
Last week.
Right.
Mr. Lopez addressed that today with the high school, middle school principals on,
But after it was all over, like I said, it's going to change, like the calendar's changed, and now we got another kind of orange and everything. I just think that, it's one day at a time, and at least we have we have some plans. And, you know, your plan, working with your staff and your principals and what have you, I mean, it's good, it's as good as can be. Because like I said, we've been in meetings
For
with,
today.
with Doddridge County and Taylor County, and they're in the same situation, they got a plan. And all I heard was, why don't we follow the Taylor County plan? Why don't we follow the Marion County plan? And in the end, it's all going to be governed by how many people get sick in their county.
You just tell them we're Harrison County, we don't
You know,
follow.
well, that's what we told. We told Doddridge County all we wanted was some of their money.
Yeah,
You know.
they follow us.
You know,
All right, anything else?
no, that's all.
And that's, yeah, I don't have anything other than, you know, thank our teacher staff and, you know, everyone here, even in the central office that's working hard and you're doing the best you can. And I think this has aged everyone at least 10 years.
And one other thing which I just found out,
Steve Hardy?
I know, one thing it's about one of our personnel. Sharon Harris, my understanding, I didn't know it, that her home burnt down and she lost supposedly pretty much everything. And I know there's people making contributions.
Principals, no, they're collecting. And
Okay.
They're collecting, you know, to help her out. I guess she lost furniture and everything, and I just said, you know, that's one of our own. So today, when I actually did hear it, I wanted to make a little contribution to it, and I gave to Ms. Stone to give to her and everything. I just think that, that's one of our own, and we ought to try and,
No, I didn't even know that.
as a board and as a countywide school system,
What is that?
that we all do that.
She was in an apartment right there in Adamston. Did you hear where the fire was in Adamston? It was in an upper apartment. So her bottom, she's in the basement apartment, and so she had, it was water damage.
Ow.
Water, so she's been in
Pulled everything.
cleaning up what she can get. She's got another place that's close right by, another house from the renter, and she's getting ready to move in there.
And I think this would be a good thing for the county, maybe, you know, both unions, talk to all the schools and all your fellow constituents. Maybe they could put something out there and it'd come back into you guys, and that you could, you know, that we could help her, you know, get reestablished and what have you. I just think that that's, you know, help, give her,
That
you
she's
know,
good employee.
it's not a handout, it's a hand up, you know, so.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I hear it, yeah. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Children of peace, go in peace.